In this video, we will be tasting and talking about batch 111 of the Eco Cha Tea Club, a Shui Xian Black Tea from Taiwan. Batch 111 of the Eco Cha Tea Club is a Shui Xian Black Tea from Taiwan. Shui Xian is the name given to a cultivar, a strain of tea originating from Fujian province in China, the Ui mountain area. And it has been cultivated in other areas of China since then, and also in Taiwan, although it's quite rare in Taiwan. In fact, I believe it's the first time we are offering a Shui Xian tea. And this plot of tea is new. It's in its 4th or 5th year of growing. Nearby here in Zhushan, or Bamboo Mountain, Nantou County, Taiwan, about 850 meters elevation. And our friend and source of a few of our in-store teas has encouraged this local farmer to plant a plot of Shui Xian, promising him to purchase it from him, I assume, in the long run. And yeah, so this is the first time that they made black tea from this crop of tea, which has probably been being harvested for a couple of years now. And as soon as we tasted it, we thought it was special. It's a small leaf type tea plant, so it has similarities to what has become popular here in Taiwan, basically making black tea from the tea cultivars that are used to make oolong tea. Qingxin Oolong, Jinshuan, Cui Yu, Four Seasons Spring, all of these, particularly the summer crops, have been used to make black tea in the last decade or so. It's kind of, in my perception of watching it over the last 20 odd years, is that Tai Cha number 18, Red Jade, became popular in the early 2000s, became a big seller. Black tea kind of became a hit in a way that it had never been in Taiwan. And so the oolong farmers are like, we can make black tea also, and maybe it's a good idea, especially from our summer crops. So that's become a thing, and we offer small leaf black tea from our Dongding Oolong tea source on an ongoing basis. But this Shui Xian, it has a substance. Basically, our friend who encouraged the farmer to grow it so that they can cooperate feels like he can produce a heavily oxidized oolong or a black tea that is distinctly of better quality than the market value or the market quality of small leaf black teas in general. And so far, we believe him because we have experienced that. Let me take a sip so I can tune into this tea. Cooled down now. I brewed it this morning. So my experience and how I describe the teas here in this situation where the tea has cooled down will be different than yours if you're brewing it and drinking it as you brew, like I do all the time. It's two different things really, and it's worth exploring. When the tea is volatile, it'll have a much more pronounced aromatic profile. You get a lot more fragrant qualities. And when the tea has cooled down, the flavor becomes more exposed, so to speak. It's just more palatable, I believe, and you get a more composed or a fuller composition of the flavor profile when the tea is at a lower temperature. I used, this is about a 160 milliliter pot. I used about 9.5 grams of tea, started at 1 minute and went down to 50 seconds on the second brew, back up to a minute on the third brew, 1 minute 10 seconds on the fourth brew, and a little over 1 minute and 20 seconds on the fifth brew. So we love seeing this kind of phenomenon on the scene here in the local industry, where a merchant will encourage a farmer to plant something different, so that in the end we have a boutique type of tea on the market that is available at in very small quantities. This is a very small singular batch of tea from the third harvest of the year, last year, fall harvest. So just that people are willing to invest in and put the time and energy into planting a different strain of tea based on at least a promised demand, like our friend the local merchant. And that's just encouraging in general, so that it's a representation or an example of things going in the opposite direction from the homogenization of tea production, which our modern society in general is kind of ridden with a homogenization, it seems. But things like tea culture, we need to really, maintain a sense of why it's of value and quality to us, and support the growers, what it comes down to. Ecocha has been most invested in and dedicated to representing what the farmers have to offer, and their knowledge, their tradition, and their knowledge and their skill, and of course the produce that they offer to us. So it does act like a small leaf black tea in the sense that it's sweeter, it's more complex in its aromatic profile. It has a fruity quality to it, in addition to the kind of base of a malty quality that most black teas have, particularly Assam type tea. The thing that struck me personally when I first tasted it at the source's house, and then continue to experience, is that it has a substantial composition, and it has that complexity of a small leaf black tea, but it's smooth and it's thick and it's satisfying. When I was brewing it this morning, when it's wafting, I think of blackberries. So blackberry pie, rhubarb is another thing that my brain conjures in the experience of this tea. Tangy, sweet, bergamot. I definitely have gotten repeated hits of bergamot, even in the nose after I drink it. So it's complex and it's substantial. And that to me is a nice thing when it comes to black tea, to have something that's more than just that rich, dark, malty, kind of tarry, sometimes molasses or something like that, in a large leaf type black tea. And the finish on this is not that overly sweet, sort of monotone thing that can happen, especially with when black tea is made from the newer cultivars like Zhushan and Four Seasons Spring. Okay, it did change by the fifth brew. I'm going to run through these quickly again. Tangy, with enough sweet and a little bit of, it's not as thick as molasses at all. It's actually like a really bright tea. We can see by the visuals in the cups that it's transparent. It's a glowing kind of orange, reddish orange, but it's not dense at all in the visual as well as in the flavor profile. Fruity in general, every time I taste it, I think of I just felt pears. I don't know why. Okay, so it seems to be kind of becoming less tangy and a little more malty as we go, but still the finish is tart. Yeah. It gets more and more like a black tea, so I'd say the most complexity is in the first three brews, and then it maintains its basic character, but becomes a little less complex into the fourth and fifth. Let's see what we got for six. I swear, it reminds me a lot of Hong Oolong, in the sense that it has a bit of an Oolong aspect to it, and I particularly noticed that in the finish. Oolongs finish a little bit drier and kind of have a pop, a little of astringent and bitter. I wouldn't say that this is bitter at all. But later in the brews, it is becoming a little bit more astringent. And just, I don't feel like that is what happens with large leaf black teas or your common British style black tea, for example. Combined 1 through 5, I think. I think the thing that I appreciate most about this tea is the balance between its complexity, the fruity kind of tangy profile, with enough of a substantial base of sweet and malty, but not covering up the complexity. Yeah, if you're into fruity, tangy style black tea, this is definitely going to rock your world. I think it really is. Shui Xian, I tried to get a little bit of a survey. I called our Wenshan Baozhong tea farmer who used to grow Shui Xian, and I said, why did you grow it and how does it differ? And he said it's, in the end, it's quite similar to Qingxin Oolong, the original small leaf strain that's used to make most of the higher quality oolongs here. He said if nobody told you, you probably wouldn't think of it. But other people have said it does have a more substantial aromatic profile, is what they say. The fragrant power in it is stronger. And our friend who got a farmer to work with him to grow it is convinced that he will be able to produce higher quality, more heavily oxidized and roasted oolongs, as well as black teas like this. So there we have it, Shui Xian Black Tea, fall 2024, in its 4th year, I believe, this plot of tea in its lifetime. So it's reaching its peak. The plants are mature enough and producing quite healthily. And it's growing at mid-elevation, so it's got a little bit of an advantage over the bulk or the majority of black tea that is produced at lower elevations all over Taiwan. Thanks for being with us. Please let us know how you feel about this tea and all of our teas that we offer in the Eco Cha Tea Club. Leave comments on our blog posts or in the YouTube comments on our YouTube channel. Thanks. See you next time.